Boom. And we're live. Welcome, Serve. I appreciate you making the time to join me and having a talk today. How are you doing?
Uh, no, just kidding. Just kidding. I'm fine. Uh, I'm a
Okay.
bit anxious with uni stuff, and I'm I really should be careful with my sleep schedule as well. But I'm okay.
How many hours
I'm
of sleep
okay.
are you
How
getting?
about you? Uh, 8 hours, but really bad time.
Mm.
Like last night, I
Mm-hmm.
slept at around 3 a.m., which
3
is not good.
a.m. Mm-hmm.
I should fix that.
Yeah.
But
But
I
can
wanted to finish something, so
I see, I see.
I wanted to finish a
Yeah, yeah.
work and
But do you think you have a routine that kind of time schedule of like where your body clock it says, "Oh man, I need to shut down."
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine hits around like 8:30 to 9. That's when it does what sometimes I mean most of the time I don't respect it and that has that has some implications. Maybe because like there's a certain task or there's usually like consumption related issues that I'm working on. Um yeah, well, I kind of want to get started on a light topic of death.
Uh,
What's your what's your perception of death?
death.
Yeah.
Um, I think like most people, when I was younger,
Mhm.
that's something that would really scare me
Mhm.
because you have you have lots of questions. Is there a life after death?
Mhm.
If so, what is it?
Mhm.
If not, is it really the end?
Mhm.
So why are we doing all of this
Mhm.
if we are about to die one day?
Right.
But with time, I guess I just accepted the fact that uh, death is a part of life, uh, and I'm not really scared of it.
Mhm.
Mm,
Do you think you could hold
I
that
would
same
say
perspective when you were on your deathbed though?
uh, I don't want to be conscious of that moment.
Oh,
I would like to, I mean, we don't choose to, but
right, right.
we don't choose how we are going to die. But
Yeah.
I would really like if I could just, die in my sleep and not being aware of it, like not waking up. Oof, that's
Uh,
really like topic we're starting with.
yeah, I wonder how many people die like that. Don't you think most people die with some type of like medical traumas? Like I feel like the late stages of death. I don't know how many people peacefully, yawn, go to sleep, and then the next day they're not there anymore. Like I don't think death is you could choose how you die, do you? I don't
No, but I say this because I think this is my mother's grandpa who
mm,
died like that.
mm,
He died in his sleep peacefully, and I think this is the best option.
the best option. Yeah,
Uh,
I think the best option would be like the less pain you feel while you are met with the reality of mortality. And do you reflect upon your mortality quite often? Since you stated that you're not really scared of it, there must have been, just, you must have thought about this quite a lot.
yeah, I think about this a lot. Uh, wow, I promise I'm more of a funny person than I sound like. But yeah, I think about this quite often, especially because um, well, where I live,
Mm-hmm.
um, not here, this place right here, but where I usually live
Mm-hmm.
with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we live in a house. I mean, it's a house that was cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
So we live on one side, and someone else
Right, right,
lives on the other side.
right.
And the thing is that we're living here because the person who used to live there before died.
Mm.
So this is how we got there.
Mhm.
That person died in the house,
Mhm.
and 2 months ago,
Mhm.
uh, my neighbor also died in the house as well.
Mhm.
So I think about this quite often
Mm.
because
It's
if
a
that
recurring
person, the
theme in your
lady who
environment.
used to live there, didn't, that's terrible to say. Not saying, oh, if she didn't die. No,
Mhm.
uh, you know what I mean to say. Uh, why the reason I'm living in this house is because she passed away,
Right, right.
and and she used to take care of a stray cat,
Mhm.
and so the stray cat was used to go inside the house and
Mhm.
such.
Mhm.
And when her family went to clean up the house,
Mhm.
take out the furnitures,
Mhm.
they obviously didn't bring the cat with them.
Uh-huh.
So when my mother and I visited the house for the first time,
Mhm.
the cat was there. The cat was around, and she went inside and such. And my mother and I sort of adopted the cat now.
Mm.
So I'm thinking also when I look at my cat, I also think, oh, the lady
Mm.
before used to
Right.
take care of this cat, and
Right.
now it's my turn. Like, you know,
Yeah.
she passed the cat to me.
It
So I
kind of
do think about this a lot.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, again, it's like a recurring theme within like your environment and life, it seems like.
yeah, yes, that's pretty. And I also live really close to a cemetery, but
What did you say? A percentage?
oh, I live really close to a cemetery.
Oh, I see.
It's really like a few meters
Do you
away.
ever go
Uh,
walks? Like, do you have like conscious thoughts about, today would be a perfect day to, go on a walk across like the cemetery? Do you ever have those thoughts?
That's I've done that before, yes.
Mm.
Uh, and seeing the different period, like people who died a long time
Right,
ago,
right.
like the century before,
Yeah.
or people who died recently.
What are the thoughts that go across like your head when you walk across the cemetery?
Well, if I had a tombstone,
Mm.
who would cry on it? That's the
Mm.
kind of stuff I think about. Like, who would visit me?
Mm.
But I don't really want to have a tombstone. I'd rather be
Ash?
incinerated.
Uh-huh. Because I think those
But
things are
yeah, I think
costly too.
about this kind of things.
Yeah. Do you think that there's going to be people who are going to weep?
Well, if I had to die right now, probably my mother,
Hmm.
for sure. And then I don't know. I don't know if I died like today,
Yeah.
like after the call,
Yeah.
and you learn that I died, would that make you cry?
I
That's a
think I
terrible
think I would
question.
I think I
I'm
would
sorry.
mourn. I think I would mourn and like because of the impact that you've had, um I would definitely be surprised. It's kind of like it's always amusing or it catches the interest, I think, for me when someone youth and healthy is deprived of, their potential, let's say. And that's always a tragedy. And that also reflects that also reminds me of like the mortality of death. But I I think I kind of cope with like the problem of like who's gonna care and to like just remembering that nobody cares at the like the legacy aspect that doesn't really matter because you're forgotten after three generations or at,
Exactly.
unless
Yes,
you're
I
some
think so too.
brilliant someone who makes great advances and great impact, even those people are eventually faded away from history. So I kind of yeah.
Really, and I am fine with that, really. I don't necessarily want to be remembered
Mm-hmm.
or mourned, but I do. It's like a thought experiment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if I died, who would
Yeah,
cry on
yeah,
my
yeah,
tombstone? But
yeah.
I don't care that much neither.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, because I could definitely sense like how I cared about you know wanting to like be so remembered or leaving something. But I think that yearning is, I think it goes for all human beings of doing something, making something of their life of some importance. I think there that like this also implies where people want to achieve fame, power, wealth, status, whatever things that makes them just feel of some uniqueness, some sense of belonging. But at the end of the day, as you stated, like we're all met with the same harsh reality of mortality, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be pursuing those things. I think it's also just like a reminder that you have to be aware um, of it instead of being scared or just terrified by it. Because I remember, like as a kid, I still remember the first time I realized what death was. I was a kid and I was in the apartment with my mom, and I'm pretty sure it was winter because we were all lying on the ground, side by side with like our little blankets, and then my mom was talking about like she tells so many different stories, like repeated stories, and then she talked so casually about that she's gonna pass away, uh, and me and my brother started like weeping. We're just like, Mom,
Oh,
you're gonna go away? Are you? And then I was just so terrified that my mom is gonna disappear like one day, and then my mom would comfort me and stating that yeah, but that's long ways ahead. You don't have to worry about it. Um, but yeah, I still remember that moment because there was like a realization, that knowledge of mortality. It I viewed it as something scary because I really enjoyed having her. Like you know, nobody, yeah, nobody wants something that they enjoy and cherish to perish. Like nobody wants
mm,
that, and yeah, but I think like over time as I kind of confronted like the ideas and also seeing people kind of pass away, recognizing that this is that the cycle is a beautiful thing. If there was such thing called immortality, life would be
ah,
it would be very different. It would be very different. It's that scarcity element of time that every human is bounded by, that we strive for perfection, we strive for so many different things that we wouldn't have otherwise if given unlimited time. There's like the aspect of time is so um like a foundation of human life, at least in like my perspective. So I don't know. That's how I confronted like the idea of death. So I think I hold like the same perspective. It's nothing like to be scared about. If anything, it should empower you and liberate you in recognizing that all goals that you set are truly arbitrary, but it you should. That's why it's also just as important because you're the ones that's making the choices and deciding to carry a load. Yeah.
yes, and we should not make the topic of death as a taboo.
Mm.
I think we
Is it
should be
taboo?
able to talk about this without having people saying, "Oh, no, 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 you shouldn't say that," or "You
Mm.
shouldn't
I
mention
didn't know it
that."
was a taboo topic.
Uh, Well, for instance, it's not really the case with my parents, but
Mm.
I think it's important, especially as you grow older, to talk about legacy
Mm.
and other things like, oh, my mom said it to me several times, way before, in the past as well, that, oh, when I'm going to die, really, I don't want a tombstone. I want to be incinerated.
Mm.
And so that's the kind of stuff people don't really want to hear.
Oh, I see.
And
Right.
when I was younger, indeed, I would say, "Oh, what are you saying this?"
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to hear that. But
Right.
I think we should
I see what
uh,
you mean.
talk about
I see. Like the
this.
realistic aspect of what you would do, you know, afterwards. Like you have to, talk about these things because like it has true consequences within your daily life if you were with someone who's close of possibly being met with death, or if those occurrences happen, you know what to do. If anything, I think that's like Yeah, it's responsible. I should probably tell my no, I don't know. Yeah, that's true. I guess it is taboo. Now I'm thinking about like if I tell my mom I want to be incarcerated or no, not incarcerated. That took me going in jail.
What?
Incinerated,
What? Is
incinerated,
that a list?
incinerated. That would be a really big problem. Yeah, I see what you mean. Do you have any views on the afterlife? This is another thing that no humans know.
Well, yes, no one knows
Hmm.
clearly. Uh, for a really long time, from when I was barely a teenager uh, to my early 20s,
Hmm.
I really wanted to find the answer actually, and I would look up on many traditions,
Hmm.
religions,
Hmm.
beliefs to see the different options. And you know, I guess I had a sort of big ego,
Hmm.
like, oh, if I'm going to collect all the data
Right.
and weight how should I say, the arguments.
Hmm.
Is one possibility more likely than the
Right. Right.
other? Maybe I'm going to be close to
Hmm.
the answer, as if I'm going to find the answer
Hmm.
of what's going on after death.
Right.
But uh, spoiler, I didn't find my answer,
Hmm.
and I didn't find an answer to me that sounds more likely than the other.
Hmm.
So I personally don't believe in a afterlife at all. I don't believe in souls
Hmm.
or anything. Um, your body just goes back to the earth and become a part of the universe again. And I find beauty in that
Mm.
actually.
So like more of like a concrete, like realist that what you see, you just base your kind of arguments based upon like what you see, which is like there's nothing more. You just disintegrate and this just like the life cycle, just like any other animals that have lived on Earth, that they're provided life and then you know it's they reproduce or um, there is no way of kind of extending the process of life. There is no soul. There is no going into a heaven or hell.
It's not really about uh, what I see, but I think we don't. It's not really necessary to. I mean, what if there is really nothing?
Yeah,
You have to really think about that, in my opinion, no matter what you believe in.
yeah.
Uh, and I think that, afterlife sort of has something holy to it,
Hmm.
whether you believe about hell or heaven or even a reincarnation.
Hmm.
It sounds a bit holy in a
Hmm.
way,
Hmm.
but I think we should sacralize Earth and living again and put more
Secular? What
put put
secularize? What's that word?
uh, sacralized, but maybe it doesn't exist in English. I
Oh,
don't
okay,
know.
okay.
Uh, make living on Earth sacred again.
Hmm. Was that ever a thing?
Mm, I would say maybe pagan beliefs
Pagans
in a
believe
way.
that living on Earth is a holy thing, like a holy experience.
No, I wouldn't
Uh huh.
say not really holy, but
Holy.
I think the living on this planet is self-sufficient
Hmm.
in a way.
I see. I see. I see.
Just accepting that maybe there's just that
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's enough.
Right. Right. Instead of seeking for a possible afterlife where you are like granted I guess on your deed. Yeah, because I'm questioning this because the view that like the talk I had with Slade, we talked a little bit about like the afterlife and his views within. like in a religious perspective, is that your good deeds, it matters. The choices matters a lot because you're granted like abundance of what I think some type of abundance that you're granted within the afterlife, right? And that gives him significant, like I'm assuming that you would derive a lot of meaning from that because every single action that you do, you're acting in a way as if that existed. And I think that's like a
Mhm.
wonderful, wonderful like framework to like behave. But I think it's also just as important as you stated to recognize, yeah, that is a good way, generally a good way because you're holding accountable for the choices that you make, but also recognizing, just playing around with the idea that oh yeah, maybe there is nothing, and within that aspect, what would I do? Would that change how I do good deeds? Like, would that change? Because that also like reveals something within you. Like, you're like, oh wow, I'm only doing good deeds. Let's say to enter into something. But if it almost liberates you in that you don't have that purpose. It's kind of like a weird duality that I'm trying to think of, which is that if there was no such thing called heaven, then you are confronted with the reality that there's nothing afterwards. And with that, then your choices also carry significant weight because even though it has no meaning, you are giving it that meaning. You know, that's also kind of like how I approach like the meaning of life. Although you know, I'm always open to hearing other like perspectives, which is it's it's up to you.
Yes,
It's
at the
liberating.
end of the
Yeah.
day, you really do you. I don't think there's a better option. If a belief of an afterlife is what makes you want to
Mm-hmm.
do good actions
Yeah.
or to follow a certain conduct, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. It's really personal, really.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, it is. It is.
and it's just my opinion. You shouldn't give it too much weight.
Mm-hmm. No, but I think these opinions, I mean, all of these opinions are just as important because it allows you to kind of play around with, what you could take from it. You know what I mean? It's like without the opinions that I've considered, I might have only stuck with like the the belief within a religious perspective that I've known and kind of grew up on, but it's only from hearing different point of views and also recognizing what seems right for me, let's say. So it's important. And would you consider like death? I know. How do you feel any emotions when the word death is kind of spoken upon? Like when I say the word death, are there any emotions such as anxiousness or sadness, grief, sorrow that comes up, like fearfulness even? Are there any emotions that kind of pops up when you talk about this word?
I would say FOMO in a way.
FOMO, if
Uh,
you fear missing out.
yes, on some aspects.
What do you fear
Uh,
missing out on?
Missing out something, yes, but fear, maybe this word is a bit too strong. The Oh, yeah, fear is what would be a better one, a better word than fear? Not really fear of missing out, but uh, oh, maybe this is going to happen and I'm going to miss this. Oh, that's too bad. Sort of feeling. Uh,
Oh, so it's more of like not being able to see the potential of what you could be.
yes,
I see.
yes, it's not really about fear. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I guess if you do feel, I feel like the desire to maybe
Curiosity, basically.
hmm curiosity.
Curiosity.
Hmm. I see. Yeah, I was thinking about jumping into like the idea of suffering, right? And I think like if you do feel any like negative connotation, like feelings of, I mean, I wouldn't say like sadness, grief, all of these things are like necessarily bad emotions. So I was trying to correlate the two together, but I just wanted to talk about suffering. What's your take on suffering, just in general?
Oh, wow, that's a broad topic.
Yeah.
Uh, mm, I think no one really likes to suffer. That's a no-brainer. I personally try my best to avoid suffering as much as possible, but at the same time, I know that this is not possible. And I am also aware, it's a bit paradoxical, but I am also aware that sometimes suffering is necessity
Mm-hmm.
because it's necessary because it can help you with wanting to give yourself a better situations,
Mm.
or sometimes it also helps with fighting against injustice, unfairness. I think sometimes suffering can be positive
Mm-hmm.
because it can be uh, like the something that's going to trigger a positive change.
Mm.
Uh, but at the same time, if I can avoid it as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit paradoxical on that aspect.
No, I think all hard questions and topics are usually like philosophical questions are paradoxes. Suffering as well, because it's both good and bad. I feel like it's good in terms of voluntary suffering, but when it's involuntary, you want to eliminate or reduce it as most as possible. But it
Yeah,
depends on your framework as well of like how you perceive it. You could take upon something that happens or certain injustices and go instantly
yeah,
into like, oh man, I feel helpless, or as you stated, like making a certain change.
yeah.
Talking about suffering, let's talk a little bit about not fitting in. Or maybe this could
Okay.
be a form of suffering of desiring to fit in. How much would you say that you force yourself in order to fit in?
It depends. I think the answer would be really different
Mm-hmm.
uh, depending on at what age you
Mm.
would ask me this question. If you asked 14-year-old me, I would say, oh, really, I'm trying my best to fit in on every aspect.
Mm.
But if you was asking a 25-year-old me, I would say, I still have those weird reflex.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if I see a group of people laughing because someone said something and I don't necessarily find it funny, but people are laughing, then I'm going to. But I don't do it on purpose. It's really a reflex.
Yeah.
But when I think back on it, I was like, that was not funny. Why did you laugh?
Mm.
You're a sheep. You should be ashamed, sort of. No,
You're criticizing way
I,
too hard for not laughing at a joke that you found funny. Oh, how dare you, sir? You didn't conform to the values, to your values. How could you do that? Yeah, but I do
Yes,
feel the
but
same
sometimes
exact
I
thing at
really
times.
wonder why I do that. I try to be aware of this. Am I doing this because I want to, because it aligns with my values,
Mm.
or because this will make me not stand out or help me fit in?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think right now, um, yes, I think I've managed to point some things out. Uh, I don't really, no, I think I don't really care much. I think I am a lot more spontaneous now than I used to be. I don't calculate as much. This is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like Actually, people are liking me a lot more
Mm,
when I am letting myself
right.
than when I tried
Mm.
to fit in.
Oh yeah. So
This is
that's
my experience.
yeah, something there's something beautiful about like Charles Bukowski that exactly stated like what you just stated, which is to not try. To not try. Like I told you about the story of I think I've talked about it. He's Charles Bukowski is like an American poet and writer. He had the majority of his life was him working a 9 to 5 as a postal office like deliverer, I believe. And he he didn't really enjoy his work, let's say, but he always was writing and like he was really bad with relationships in terms of like he had alcohol problem. He also with prostitution and just relationships in general. But despite that, there was something that he constantly was doing with his writing, and eventually, I think during his like 50s or 60s, people like he had this opportunity to meet like a publisher, and his writing really resonated with the masses. But some of the things like, oh, people might see him as he achieved the American dream. Just try hard, work hard, and you will reap the rewards of your labor. But I don't think like there is a huge luck element to this as well. But it really isn't about, I guess, like conforming into like an ideology, but it's more of like just doing what you're like called to do. He states that I just needed to write, like that was something that he just did, and he didn't really force himself. And something that he states was don't try, like don't try. And that might seem paradoxical because he was trying, but that was like it's a framework of like, yeah, you're doing it because of like maybe that free will factor. It's that you want to. It's not because out of the standards that are set by your environment or standards. Yeah, but I also think like I don't know how much one forces themselves to fit in. And also it seems to be like a trend that most kids all they care about is fitting in with like being normal. At least like from people I've spoken with. Because I know I've for sure done some things like that I shouldn't I wouldn't have now, but at the time I'm willing to go to any length of maybe even like causing harm, let's say, just to maybe impress or gather like I mean I don't know like what the worst thing I would do. I feel like I mocked someone like okay this is pretty like an evil child thing to do, but I feel like I like mocked someone or I've definitely done some things but that I justified, but I definitely think like as a kid I would have done anything just to fit in. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Same. I can relate to that.
Mm,
I think I did something pretty similar as well, so I'm not going to judge you for that.
yeah, yeah. I don't know why. I wonder why. It's probably also related with. I was reading some literature on like the gene aspect of that humans, we were able to have like a community always. We like for example, you had to be a part of the group within part of like the social group in order for you to survive. So that's like
Yeah.
within a tribe, and we let's say there's like hunters and there's the females who would partake in let's say gathering the fruits and taking care of the children while the men were hunting animals. And if you were like you needed to contribute, like be a part of the society, because if you're not, then you like your survival really depended upon it. And I heard something like that gene is still like prevalent within us, and thus like it's kind of like a weird way of like how we think we need to be a part of it despite our basic needs being met with
Yeah.
not really having to rely on I guess like the tribe. But yeah.
Yes. Yes, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really an instinct. Yeah, I don't think we are sort of conscious of this mechanism
Yep.
because we really sit down and think, oh, maybe I'm being a bit of an outcast because
Yeah.
I'm behaving that certain way instead of doing this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do to fit it? But at the same time, we are not conscious that we are doing it. It's really an instinct.
Yeah. And I really do think like I think a lot a huge impact of like who I am is constructed by the environment. Like I could definitely tell like while being changing from a remote environment to a physical environment that I definitely see the impacts that I like within going to school. I see my old self. It kind of terrifies me because I didn't really like how I would conform some of the values just to fit in, like let's say maybe like the party culture or just different values uh, of people and just like recognizing, oh, maybe do I need to do that? It's like allowing the desires of other people to influence mine. And yeah, that just yeah, when I recognize that doesn't really make me happy, let's say. But I feel like it's just like a normal thing within us, just being aware of it and deciding it really matters, like analyzing the environment, let's say.
Mm.
And also like recognizing that this also helped me like recognize that I'm always inside my own bubble, that even if I think I'm not in one, that I'm creating one. Do you ever feel do you find yourself in a bubble?
Yes, yes, actually.
Mm.
And I think I put myself in that bubble
Mm-hmm.
on purpose and consciously. Uh, I wouldn't know why and how to explain it. Uh, it just makes me content and help me avoid suffering in a way. Uh, no, I think I'm with the years, I really emphasize cultivating what I call my inner world.
Mm.
And I like to self-reflect on my thoughts, my hobbies, what I like and dislike, the
Mm.
traits of my personality, uh, accepting these things as they are, and be content with myself and liking myself for
Yeah,
who I am. And
that's
that
wonderful.
sounds a bit cheesy, but
No, no, I mean it might sound like cliche or whatever, but I think that's something that everyone should strive to. I like one of the greatest things I think like Socrates or some philosophers stated is like to maybe like the meaning of life is something along the lines of to know thyself, to know yourself. And I think anything that gets you closer to that makes you feel more comfortable or secure. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if anything, people should pursue that to seek not only to live for others, but also to live for yourself as well. Yeah, it's an important one. When would you say that you started living for yourself?
hmm.
Like I feel like
uh,
now you're more comfortable with your skin compared to maybe the 14-year-old Maeva.
maybe because of the pandemic.
Oh, mm. So it kind of
Yeah,
forced
because
you to
you have time to reflect and
right.
you're really left with yourself.
Yeah,
But I don't really know. Right now, it's hard to give an
definite.
answer.
Right.
Uh, no, and I think that one day you wake up and you have enough, and then you think, oh, why am I really putting this mask on or playing that character? I've had enough. I want to be more in tune with myself. So I don't think I really had a moment.
Yeah.
Just
It was like
one
a
day you're
slow,
sort of
slow like
better.
accumulation, and then you just this is not for me. I want to change.
Yes, because it can be tiring.
Yeah.
Uh, and going with the flow is better for my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's once you're on the track, on the flow, everything goes smoothly. And I think, no, it's just more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But to find that state or something that you are in align with. That takes a lot of soul searching.
But I think it happens when you don't look too hard for it.
mm. So
It
going
just
back,
comes
don't try.
naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think you're growing into the person that you want to become?
I don't want to become anyone.
Mm.
I'm content with the person I am right now, and sure, I don't want to become a I don't want to evolve in
Right, right,
the
right,
but
right.
in the bad way. But I don't have a sort of
Ideal version of
person.
yourself.
Yeah, you see, this is the kind of how should I say it?
Mm-hmm.
Having this kind of goal
Mm-hmm.
and ideas and pursue
Mm-hmm.
puts a lot of stress on me for
I
no
see.
reason.
I see what you mean. No, that makes sense. I feel the same like way of that. Like this question, it implies that that is good, right? Is that what you mean? So therefore, like you think like, oh, do I need to become someone? Like you start reflecting upon, like,
Am I
oh,
not enough right
yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah,
What's
yeah,
wrong with me?
yeah, yeah. No,
Am I not complete? Am I in the process
yeah,
of
yeah.
being a person?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in
No,
this
you're
in
right.
between stage.
I think the problem, yeah, it's a flawed problem because when if I ask this question to myself, then it's like, who am I? Like it's like you start having like an identity crisis like all of a sudden. Um, no, but I ask this because in terms of like every single human like I believe that every person truly wants better or
Yeah.
more, whatever like let's say good is, and that humans have a tendency to pursue perfection. That's why I like ask this question of like just even the path within the flow, you are still making progresses, although it's like a state, you are making the progress, and like the goal could be just maintaining the flow, just maintaining who yourself. And it doesn't like the only way that I could see like how I perceive this question like negatively also is because like who knows truly like what I could become, and it also gives you an opportunity of like failure. And I think like subconsciously, at least for me, i have the I have such a strong aversion to failing or to hey, and thus like sometimes I don't confront the things which is most necessary, you know maybe
Mhm.
we're too comfortable within our bubble as well, and we
Maybe
try to
that, yeah,
justify
maybe
it
that,
as well. So
maybe that's
there's
why.
yeah, there's so
No,
many
I
different.
mean, I can definitely improve on some areas
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Believe it or not, I'm not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but like right now, I think I am enough.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I I think you should be content
Yeah, that's
with
all that
the
matters, really.
person you are right now because you're not living in the past and you're not living in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You are living right now. I mean, technically, the present doesn't exist because when I say now, the
It
moment
passed
I say
already.
now already belongs to the
Mm-hmm.
past. But you should be grounded.
Mm.
And so this is kind of my take on
Yeah, yeah.
this.
And would you state that there was any influences that made you become like you stated that because of the pandemic, that kind of forced isolation made you kind of reflect? Was there any outside influences that also made you like, oh, maybe I should start mm, taking more in charge, more adopting more responsibility for who I am?
I don't know. I don't know. Uh, oh, this is a hard question. Uh, I have no idea. I'm sorry. I can't find an answer to this question. How about you?
Influences. I think there's many, countless, probably. But definitely being open, like recognizing, like opening my eyes more of reality and recognizing the bubble that I've created for myself. I think it's like an important one.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the analogy of the bubble. It keeps on coming up within our conversation, but it truly is. It's true for me at least, because everybody has their own little circle. As I live also like my life and seeing strangers and how they live out, carry on their lives, their duties. It's like they have their own little network and these nodes, and it's just like all really really fascinating of the different perspectives, the different ideas, the different values that they hold, and you can kind of just see that. And but I was, I drew my bubble was a one with swords all around, because I wouldn't let anyone really barge or being influenced. I believe that like my perspective was right, super selfish, conceited, and thinking that I knew how the world worked, having this very a certain ideal of the world. Um, I recognized like that was the wrong way for me to perceive the world, because it was just my interpretation, and the interpretation it didn't really result to anything good for my 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 family and for the people around and for what I could do. So recognizing that, I think helped me influence, like that realization from wanting, and I was also like, you get exhausted from, maybe we could talk a little bit about addiction, but it at times it's truly like it's insufferable, like, and there was a yearning that I if I didn't I don't think I would be able to escape. Luck also plays a huge factor as well.
Sorry to interrupt you, but on my side, the video looks a bit wacky.
Oh
I
really?
don't know if it's just me.
Yeah, it should be fine. I let me see if I could try this. Is that better? I just turned it off and on.
Uh,
Oh, now I. One second, ladies and gentlemen. I have to. It seems like we have a technical difficulty,
mhm.
and now we should.
Yes.
There we go. Is that better?
Uh,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. I
No,
don't
it's
know
okay.
what that was weird.
Yeah, that was odd. Anyway, yeah, we could talk a little about addiction. How? What's your? I know that you have stated there were some addictions in. Are there any addictions in your life?
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, for a really long time, I would hide it from people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and eventually, I would open up to some people,
Mm-hmm.
just a few.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think I don't mind. I mean, I won't go around telling everyone, oh, I know, I struggle with that, but
Right.
I don't want to keep it a secret anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trigger warning maybe for people who are a bit sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
but for a few years now, I had some issues with self-harm.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think, when was that? Um, I think it was yeah, I had, several periods where, oh, I want to
Mm-hmm.
stop. I mean, oh, not stop. I
Oh,
want to
yeah,
stop.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I want to stop,
Yeah.
and then eventually, I think, oh no, what's the point? And then I relapse, and then a few months later, no, I want to stop for real now.
Right.
I will do my best. Then you try, and you have a bad day. You have this one bad day in your whole last 3 months, and you think, oh yeah, well, what's the point of stopping? Because this is my only way to alleviate my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So let's relapse again. It's eh,
Yeah. It takes
it's
over.
tiring.
Yeah. No, but
It's
it's the
tiring.
same experience. It is exhausting, and you feel so helpless too when you hold yourself accountable. Like when you put kind of like your let's say your whole self into it, you know, your integrity on the line, and you don't respect it. They're just like, oh gosh, I'm just, am I a human being that, like, am I worthy? Like, there's so much like self confident issues. It has its own
Yes.
roots that it grows. And how long are you sober for, by the way? I know. Mhm.
3 months
3 months.
for now. Yes.
Congratulations. Gotta keep that
Yeah.
growing. I know
For
it's
how long?
it's tough.
I'm really trying my best. Okay.
Hmm.
I say this all the time,
Yeah, yeah,
and then I fail. No,
yeah.
but I'm,
I know.
yeah, that this time will be
Yeah, this
the
is the
the
nail in
time.
the coffin. Also, that yeah, maybe that accountability of not only yourself but also, people around you. It also really matters as well. That judgment element, I think, is at times necessary. I mean, this could also, it could be a bad thing depending on like how you perceive it. But for me, I feel like it is super necessary for me, like kind of like also to change, not only for myself but also for the people around, because I know that it has detrimental effects um, on the lives around me as
Mhm,
well. Yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I think I we well, the feeling of shame when you have an addiction is really, I feel like this is the worst thing.
Mm,
In my opinion, in my experience, I mean, it really may depend also on what you're addicted to. But I feel like the worst thing is not what you're addicted to, but the shame feeling. Like you're conscious of it, but you can't help it. You are afraid of judgment. Maybe you want to get help, but you don't know who to tell this to because you don't know how they're going to react, how this is going to change how they perceive you. On the moment when I do the bad thing, I feel good, right?
mm,
That's why you do it. I mean, it depends maybe on what you're addicted, but even with drugs, I mean, people do it for the shoot, right? The,
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
adrenaline, for that one specific moment that will help you disconnect
mm-hmm.
or to. I don't really know myself how addictions work. This is confusing,
Yeah,
but what was I going with that? Yeah, the
the
feeling of
shame.
shame.
Mm-hmm,
On the moment you feel good, you don't really, even you question yourself by thinking, oh, why would I want to stop? But then that, that climax
mm-hmm.
goes down, it
Yeah,
goes back to normal.
mm-hmm,
And you think, why did I do that?
yeah,
And this is the worst feeling, in my opinion. This
mm-hmm,
is and this is really why I want to stop. Not really because of the damage,
yeah.
or, but I really can't stand this feeling of shame
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
But I feel like you could also utilize that shame of like not doing it. For me, that was a huge driver for it. Cause who
Yes,
wants to feel
yes.
that aspect of, dude? Are you again, dude? Oh my goodness, man! You gotta start. You gotta cut this out. It's not good for you. And
Yes.
yeah, for me, it was probably one of the biggest like forces that I call it like the gremlin. That there's a gremlin within my mind that constantly talks to me. It's like, come on, do it, do
Mhm.
it, do it.
Yeah, or that little voice in your head that says, just this time,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
It
one
won't
time,
hurt. It won't hurt.
just this time.
Yeah,
Then afterwards you can
yeah.
stop.
It makes
But
yeah.
just this time,
It makes
this is
so many
okay.
justifications. I mean, even like we could even. It doesn't even have to be addiction. It could be like procrastination. Like it's
Oh,
so
mm,
easy to succumb to to just not doing anything. I guess like the problem for me was the moderation aspect and not recognizing it. But I don't think it's people who most majority of people won't understand. When you are in a state of addiction, you don't really consume things that are outside that circle, and it's very personal too. You know, you because of the shame, the taboo of all these topics, it's hard for people to maybe seek out help, and it's up to them. Maybe that gives them even more weight in order to change, but also it would have really helped if they did have more, if it was more open. So I, I guess like what I'm trying to say is just being open, just being more mindful about such issues, and just not having such negative perceptions of it, because everybody goes through some struggles, you know. But I truly wish like
Yeah,
the
we
best for.
believe that it happens to other people. You know,
Yeah.
it's always it happens to other people. Not me,
Yeah.
not me. I'm different. It happens to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but also, I would like to say that if you are struggling with an addiction, whatever it is, and you want to open up, still be careful about who you open up to,
Mm.
because this could really play against you,
True.
not in a really detrimental way.
Mm.
Uh,
That's really good sage advice coming from Eva, because I feel like I had to just hold that stuff in. I can't imagine like the suffering, the daily struggles that people who are in that loop go to. But hopefully, like, you know, as we speak about these things, and maybe even having people who actually are specialized within these things, like talking about, there's so much resources now with with like for example, there's a Stanford professor from called Dr. Huberman, who talks about like addictions and how it affects your brain. Highly recommend just being aware and just doing some researches and how to cope with it. And it takes a lot of responsibility and duty, but it's something that you need to do, to take upon responsibility for yourself. Because if not, what's the alternative? Uh, Something close to hell.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and it's like I said, it's I feel like only people with addiction can really relate to
I think so.
how it's confusing,
Mm.
because this is really something you don't choose to get an addiction. You just you it happens to you, and you have to you
Navigate out of it
you,
somehow.
you yeah, you lose all power, self-control you thought you had, and you feel really submissive to something external.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to stop, but at the same time, why should I? Or you sometimes you think about what's the moment that started it all,
Mm-hmm.
or at what moment did I really um I fell in this and I can't go
Yeah.
back. You try to self-reflect,
Yeah.
and I would say that I realized that maybe you start for one reason. Eventually, you are more prone to. I think it also depends on how you are wired biologically.
Yeah.
Some people can be more prone to addictions than other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but you may start for one thing, and you will keep going for any little things will make you you continue for every different reasons, like, oh, I'm just, I'm not really sad today, but someone looked someone really gave me a bad look on the street, or I, I, like you also, this is a how should I say, what's the word, not an opportunity, but you take this as an excuse to,
Right.
oh, then
Yeah. It becomes such an integral part of your life to escape into. Like it's the path of taking minimum resistance. At least for me. There was times where like I would play I had assignments due, but I just like, oh man, I mean I'll get into that eventually. And I would stay awake 4 a.m., 5 awake playing, just spending all nighters, just being sucked into a different universe because I didn't want to confront the things that I really needed to do, or like the worst one was probably like pornography addiction, which is like it's such a frowned upon topic, but it does impact a lot of people, especially like young people who don't have really like moderation, or they don't really have built that self control. So that there's any, as you stated, the more ticks that you kind of like build upon, or your tolerance level to just any minimal things, it goes like it's so low that you're not really tolerant to behavior that's like that bothers you, and then thus like you reinforce like the behavior, like whenever something like something disgust or something that you don't like happens to you, then that gives you an excuse to alleviate the pain, or something. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I don't like the victim mentality, but sometimes I feel like a victim
Yeah, yeah,
of that.
yeah. I for sure was in that. I that mentality was too strong, and you only recognize it only when you come out of it as well. It's the scary part of like the realization that you were truly uh, an addict, but you know you have this like survivor bias, which is like, oh, I'm not that person. I could never be that person. Um, Also maybe even like people going
I
into
can stop whenever I want.
yeah, yeah. Same thing. Another example is even marriages as well. I can stop. I mean, what am I am not the 50% of people that will end up separated. You know, I will be the one that finds true love. Let's say. But talking about love, what's your how important do you think love is?
Oh, uh, uh,
Video.
yeah.
Okay, one sec. Um, all right, we are back. There we go. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, can you repeat the question,
How
please?
important is love?
Oh, well, um, there are many definitions of love. Uh, right. Love, love. Uh, yeah, it depends on what kind of love you're talking about.
So like we're talking, there's
Uh,
in terms of different types, you're talking about the love that you have for your parents, the love that you have for your teachers, the love that you have for your strangers, the love you have with maybe your partner. There's all different types of love. But in essence, how important do you think that element of just love is in an abstract form? There's many different types, but just the idea of love.
I think this is something that pushes you to do the impossible
Mm.
in a way. Like, for instance, I think, yeah, it's a driving force,
Yeah.
for sure. Like when I think maybe I don't know if it's a good example, but this is what comes in my mind. But
Mm-hmm.
people centuries ago, they really they they had, I don't know, love for God, so they will build like really tall, majestuous,
Mm.
beautiful
Right. Right.
cathedrals,
Right.
and the results are really
Mm. Yeah,
breathtaking.
that's a great example. Yeah, so architecture and cathedrals that we see also reflect upon pursuing uh, like divinity, like offering their love towards someone.
Yes, this is love is the driving force that
Mm-hmm.
really push you to your maximum.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to explain it. You really love helps you with expressing your full potential,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes even getting even better. Like, yeah, creating new techniques for architectures, for example. It helps you improve in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why this is the first example that came in my mind.
No, but that makes sense. Do you think it's necessary in order to for you to feel uh, so-called complete? Does every single human
Hmm.
being require love?
I think if we have on the ego aspect, I think everyone wants to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
I really love in a really
Mm.
general
Right, right.
context. You want to be appreciated,
Mm-hmm.
recognized for the person you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think this is universal.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes you don't meet the kind of people that makes you feel love. You don't meet your kind of people. You you don't really have close bonds with your family, neither for whatever reasons. Maybe you don't have friends. You may have acquaintances or buddies,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not really friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I think we may be selfish. Yeah, I think we we're more than okay with being loved,
Mm-hmm.
but giving love is not always, not because we don't want to, but it's not, sometimes it's not that easy to. I mean, this is my experience, but I really have a hard time um, appreciating someone and liking someone. Uh, like even, I mean, on a friendship level, um, if I want to be your friend, that's yeah, that's not something I want to. I don't I don't know how to explain. Uh, yeah, I don't, because I don't really understand how it works as well. Like, what makes you like a person? Is
Mm.
it their personality? Is it
Mm-hmm.
because you share hobbies and
Mm.
interests? Uh,
How do you define
this
that
is
that
confusing to
desire
me.
then? How do you define friendships?
It's someone that you, well,
Mm-hmm.
we go back to it. It's someone that you really like and you want to spend some time with. You
Mm-hmm.
want to talk uh, often.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to do things together, like doing a picnic, going to see a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's someone that it's a person you enjoy spending time with
Mm-hmm. So, and that
more
that
than
desire, where do you think
more
that
than
where do you think that liking comes from? Is it from shared values? It's something shared, right?
I have no idea. I think it just it just happens. It's not, I don't think you can intellectualize it. And I think this is my problem. Like,
Mm.
even until today, I try to, intellectualize too much.
Mm.
I'm trying to,
Rationalize like,
make,
oh, there's if this person has X, then we're compatible. Is that how you?
yes,
I see.
yes,
It's a very
I make
rational way.
calculations like,
Oh.
oh, this person has this sort of personality trait,
Mm.
and I am like that.
Mm.
So this may work, but also this is interesting because uh, i- I'm maybe we're really different in that aspect, but I'm actually attracted to this part
Mm.
of that person that I can't relate to, so I want to know more. Listen, I don't know how that works, okay? But I do have this problem. I always want to put explanations on everything, and
Mm.
sometimes you just can't. I remember when I was
Mm.
a child, I was really like, when I realized that other people, there are other people
Mm.
that liked food that I dislike,
Mm.
and this really blew my mind for some reason. Like,
Mm.
oh, I really don't like. I don't know what's something I don't like. Wait, what's something I don't like? I
Uh,
don't like many things. Uh, wait, what?
people.
Uh, no, in terms
I'm joking.
of food, I don't
Yeah,
know. Okay, this is wrong, but let's not say, okay, I don't like mushrooms.
mushrooms.
And then you realize that some people like the
Yeah,
taste of
I
mushroom,
love
and it would
mushrooms.
blow my mind because how do you like? What do we have the same experience of? And this is
Mm.
some when I'm too bored, I think about this again. Like there's
Mm.
this type of food that I dislike and other people like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to find explanations. Is it because the taste buds are wired differently?
And I think it's the
Or is it
curiosity
because
element. It's like you seek to understand. Like we need to understand and perceive if we don't understand, we create stories, we create these narratives in our world. So it's probably like your way of, trying to grasp the uncertainty aspect because humans really like stability and maybe like that framework that you have of like, oh yeah, this person is just weird. Like it's because they have like different tastes. It's like for you to better understand like, something that is stable. But I think no, it makes sense.
yeah, so defining something like love or uh, finding an answer to why do we like this person or
Mm-hmm.
why do we love in general. This is something I am really guilty of doing, trying to find a really, solid explanation. But I think I have to come in term with the fact that this is a sort of woo-woo thing.
More thing?
like woo-woo.
Woo woo?
It's a bit, yes, to me it's a bit
Okay.
it's a bit blue. I'm pretty sure that there is an explanation in terms of connections in the brain
Right,
and
right, right.
uh, maybe even hormones in some
Mm-hmm.
time. But uh, I mean, you know what? I don't understand how it works,
Yeah.
and it's fine. Like, why should we have answers to everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're curious, but sometimes you have to accept the fact that okay, we don't have the answer for this
Mm-hmm.
yet. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Do you feel like as if wait? Do you believe you don't believe in souls, but do you believe in soulmates?
Oh,
But those are two different things,
okay.
huh? Yeah, those. Are, yeah, because I thought the word soul because it wasn't soulmate.
Oh, no, that makes
Okay,
sense.
okay. Yeah. Why are you
No,
laughing?
no, that makes sense. I mean, in French it works as well. So,
What words?
yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Uh, wow, maybe this is a hot take. I don't know. I
Okay.
really, really don't believe in soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
Or at best, I would say maybe some people do have soulmates, but not everyone has one.
So
I
you think you're
clearly
compatible
believe
with,
in that.
billions of people?
It's what?
Would you say you're compatible with like billions of people? Like as long as I don't know what
Uh,
you seek for.
in terms of soulmates,
Yeah.
oh no, I don't have one. That's for sure.
No,
No,
because
I
like
don't think
no no
so.
no, just the belief of not like I don't understand the concept of soulmates. I'm not sure if soulmate is just one person, like one soul, or if it's like it becomes a soulmate. You know what I mean? It's to value the person more.
I think in my mind, I would, yeah, I have this picture of soulmates being like uh, kind of a fate thing.
Oh
Like two
yeah,
people
yeah, yeah.
exist in this planet and they are
Right,
really
right, right.
mad for each other, and one day they meet and this is they found each other's soulmate. But can you actually can someone become no I no this is what I thought soulmates are like.
I see, I see. So soulmate is someone it's related with the idea of fate is and that you guys are destined to be together.
Mm,
So that's what soulmate is.
I think
I see. Hmm. That makes sense. And then can you talk a little bit about the aromantic relationship? Because I know that this is something we want to discuss about.
yes. So love is really confusing to me, and I because like I said, we it depends on the kind of love we are talking about. Love towards your friendships, your parents, your pets,
Mm-hmm.
even your plants. But love, as in non-platonic love,
Mm-hmm.
romantic love.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, for a long time, I thought that this is something everyone goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
I took this as a step in an experience that everyone goes through at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that in my case, I thought, oh, okay, it just hasn't happened to
Mm-hmm.
me yet, but
Mm-hmm.
one day, I maybe I am a late bloomer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, everyone seems like they experienced love, romantic love, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, recently I had to realize that no, this is not my case,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so confused
Mm-hmm.
that um, like when I met someone and I
Mm-hmm.
really liked them,
Mm-hmm.
and I really, really wanted to be friends.
Mm-hmm.
I mistook this as being romantic love, especially if I have the like if I would talk to this with someone else, I would say, oh, you know, I really like that person, and then they would tell me, oh, you have feelings for them, you know, that would confuse me because I didn't see it that way. So I was like, oh, maybe this is what it is.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I've never experienced it.
Mm.
So no, but it turns out, listen, I really didn't have many crush on people
Uh-huh.
in my life. Really, like maybe three at best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think three. But when I think back on it, it was not romantic love. Uh, I just really liked them as a person. I wanted to be their besties, their favorite person. And the closest thing to a heartbreak I ever experienced
Uh-huh.
was that person that you really like platonically uh, ends up in a romantic relationship.
Uh-huh.
The thing is that people really, I feel like people really value romantic relationships more than friendships.
Uh-huh.
So eventually they spend lots of energy on their partner and
Right.
sometimes they forget their friends. And you know, I never believed in something like the friend zone. For me, this was an alien concept. So you like this
Uh-huh.
person doesn't like you back, and they say, "Oh, we can still be friends," and you don't like that option.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't understand what the concept of being friend zoned. This it really wouldn't make sense for me. Uh,
Why does it not make
but
sense? Uh-huh.
apparently that's because um, it's not enough, and people, if you can date that person, you
Uh-huh.
would rather not see them ever again,
Mm.
which is something I personally don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I see.
Listen, it's a bit, I don't know, I cannot really make a video to, well, I'm a YouTuber, make a video, yes, sure. An essay, let's say. I
Okay.
cannot really write an essay about how I came up to the conclusion that, well, yes, I am a romantic. I don't feel romantic attraction to anyone, and I don't really want to find someone.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like I had to find someone because
Mm.
this is something everyone go through at some point, and
Yeah.
apparently this makes you really happy. So
Mm-hmm.
why would you not try to achieve this
Right, right.
happiness? I don't. I cannot really explain how I came up to the conclusion, but it's an accumulation of little things,
Mm-hmm.
and also really one day discovering the fact that there is such a thing called aromanticism, because you, like I said to you one day, you don't realize that sometimes you don't realize that something exists until there is a word for it.
Mm. I see.
Word creates concepts,
Yeah.
uh, and
Better
you
understanding.
know,
Yeah. It's like that
uh,
resonance. It's also like something that other people experience as well. Like I feel like that also contributed to you being, oh, okay. Yeah, this is exactly what I resonate with.
yes,
Yeah. And that also
yes,
added towards, yeah, this is I'm so glad like there is people who also experience the same thing. And by aromantic, you mean something the definition of aromantic is something like you don't you just don't feel romantic attraction to anyone.
Yes.
That's what it is. And does that,
Yes.
but that doesn't mean that, like, what my confusion is, it does that mean that you don't feel, what does it mean by romantic attraction? Is it that you want to pursue like a,
That that's a really good question
yeah,
because when I can't sleep at night in my bed, I like to think about this,
okay, okay,
and this is what I call the, in my case, the aromantic paradox, because
romantic?
um, I I
Oh, you created a
really
paradox?
I don't, yes,
Okay,
the
okay,
aromantic
okay,
paradox,
got it.
because I'm pretty sure I never felt romantic attraction,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought that, having a crush on people was like, really liking them. But then I found out that people ask each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you're supposed to do that?
Mm-hmm.
What? I mean, listen, I am really confused, okay?
Okay.
I, I, I feel like I am finding things out
Yeah.
really late in my life.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, the aromantic paradox.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I've never felt romantic attraction,
Uh-huh.
but if I never felt romantic attraction, how can I know that
What
I am
aromantic?
aromantic?
Right.
Because I don't know how it feels like.
Right, right. That's
And
such a good counter to it. So that you could really
yeah,
truly test
so
if you are aromantic.
yes, because by definition we like the prefix a
Mm-hmm.
without.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
We can feel it. So how do we know that we can't feel it
Mm-hmm.
if we've never experienced it?
Exactly. That's good.
But in my case, I would say that, well, I remember when I was like, I had signs when I was younger that should have made me realize, first, my complete non-interest
Uh-huh.
in people. But
Mm-hmm.
I would think, oh, that's because I'm more mature.
Uh-huh.
I, yeah, I don't do that.
Okay.
I'm more mature. Like everyone's finding a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but
Yeah.
not me
Yeah.
because I'm above that.
Yeah.
Really, the ego boost was
Right.
really strong.
Off the charts.
Um, what was I going? Wait, I forgot what I was saying.
You were going to
Yes,
share. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
yes. So I feel like when I actually look this up, like, how do you know that you love someone?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is either the answer is either, oh, you'll just know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
You just know. Well, that's the point. I don't know.
Mm.
Uh,
It seems like you
no.
really like certainty. Like you can't. There has to be a cause and there has to be an effect. If there is no cause, there's no effect. If those two things aren't clear, you're not participating in whatever that is. Like,
Yes, like either that's the thing. The answers were either, oh, you just know.
right.
Well, if I'm looking this up clearly, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Or I swear, people are listing symptoms of a panic attack. Like, oh, my heart's beating super
Oh.
fast. I'm feeling weak.
right.
Well, that doesn't sound like that doesn't sound so nice
Mm-hmm.
at all to me, actually.
You've never felt like a
Oh,
heartbeat rush. You've never felt. You've never felt that. Yeah, because I would assume like because you call yourself like aromantic, I was thinking like the crushes that you had in your past, you didn't feel any form of like that extra like I guess like that pursuit. Like I would think of it as like physical or I don't really know whether romantic attraction it it's involved with physical um
well, to me, no, to me, those are completely two different things. Like I
okay.
can experience one, but not the other. And this is the thing in my case. But when I think indeed back about my crushes, so apparently we have a word for it. We don't call it crushes because it sounds romantic.
Okay.
We call it squishes,
Okay.
which I think is really cute.
Squishes.
Squishes,
Squishes.
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 No, I remember, like, I remember a few years ago, I thought I had this crush
Yeah.
on a guy in my class
Uh-huh.
when I was studying philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought it meant talking to each other and
Right.
maybe doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one day he texted me, "Oh, would you like to go to the art museum with me?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my best friend will come,
Mm-hmm.
but if he doesn't, we could come together." But
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you know, I assumed that indeed we would be 3%,
Mm-hmm.
and still I was really happy. Like, first, I'm going to spend time with you,
Yeah.
and we're going to an art museum.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Count me in.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that people, like, I thought, listen, don't make fun of me. I don't know. But I really thought that asking someone out,
Uh-huh.
asking someone to be your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever,
Uh-huh.
and dating were tropes in movies and in books.
Mm.
And I realized really late in my life that this is something people do for real.
Oh, I see. You just okay, so you realize that what you saw on like media, those things are, you draw a line that that's not reality. You already knew
Yeah,
that. Oh, okay. I feel like those have probably a big influence on majority of the people. At least like the idea of like romantic relationships. Those things are like really shown through films and books, like whatever media content that you consume, and maybe you try to practice that in reality. But for you, it's like, no, this doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
not really that. No, I think I've never consciously
Mm-hmm.
thought of it. Like, I would watch a movie or a series, and two people eventually fall in love. Sometimes even they marry.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I can understand marriage and making a family. That's not a problem. But
Mm-hmm.
really, the making, the before, like how it's constructed.
Okay.
I would watch it, and I would, okay, okay. But I never realized that this is something we do in real life, because it never felt natural to me. It was not obvious to me. I don't know how to explain. Listen, I don't know.
Uh huh.
That's the whole point.
Mm. Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
yeah. If we need to get them even into places where there are these things that are being played out in real life, uh, a bar, or where people usually have meet other people. I feel like you would be able to see that, like that the relationship or like the tension.
Because you know what? I
What?
mean, let me backpedal.
Okay.
I think, like, when people would date or find a partner,
Uh huh.
it's because it happens kind of randomly. Like, it just happens,
Right.
you know. But I realized that people, listen, it's not. How- I'm confused. Um, I realized that people
Mhm.
actually seek for it. It's not something that happens accidentally or randomly to
Mm.
some people and not others. People seek for it. Oh, I like this person, so I'm going to confess my love to them.
Mm.
Or I would love to be in a relationship
Right.
with them, because I, c- I thought that me as a person, I mean,
Mhm.
I am supposed to do that.
Mm.
I had no idea.
I see. I see. I see. Like you were also like not taught of these things as well. I feel like maybe
Oh, indeed.
yeah, that could,
That's a good point. Actually, I should ask my mom,
yeah,
because yeah, I've never ever told her,
yeah,
oh, mom, I have a boyfriend, or I'm seeing someone,
mm,
and she never, yeah, yeah, not because I was hiding it
yeah,
from
yeah,
her. It
yeah.
just
It
never,
just didn't have a
it just
conversation.
never happened.
Yeah, I think it's important to
And
also like have these.
she never mentioned it.
Yeah, it's important to, I think, be aware of like how relationships work. I think that's really something that you learn within like a family structure, because like if at least from my understanding of like, I mean, I feel like majority of people, their values and their perceptions, in large part is influenced by their parents. At least for me, my mom like as a kid like told me about like what a relation like what to seek for, and how like of her experiences, and then kind of telling me some of the things like not to do. For example, like make sure you meet a lot of different people, make sure you are aware that this person has certain values that align with you, that they're willing to um, that you take good care of them. Like there's values that has been just repeated over time, which makes it like for me like um like almost like a manner, let's say something like manners. It's something that you learn with a family structure. But if you don't have like those conversations, it could be very very confusing as well, because as you grow and as you think about like the future and how you want to live out your life, it's like, huh. And
Mm,
you could also feel a little bit about like a fear of missing out of all the cool things that people talk about within like being in a relationship. I feel like
yes,
it's important to
yes,
like experience those things.
yes.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I wouldn't think too much of it. I
Mm-hmm.
was really into being without realizing I was being I was uh, wait, I can't speak anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was important to behave my age.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't have someone by the age of 14, it's nothing
The
weird.
end
Like
of the
I'm
world.
still a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I was not in a hurry,
Mm.
basically. But then, I would enter my 20s and realize that, ooh, a lot of people are
Mm.
dating now.
Right.
And I would think, oh, this is not happening to me. People find someone they like and
Mm.
they start dating, I think. Uh, well, I haven't found that person yet.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is going to happen. And the thing
Mm.
is, I feel like I'm talking a lot about myself. I feel a bit guilty.
No, why are you
But
it's okay. I think
I feel like
it's
I'm,
no, I think I'm also
yeah,
understanding like the rationale behind it. It's the uncertainty aspect, and like it's the confusion that you're seeking to kind of comprehend and understand. You know, it seems like yeah, like you're observing the things as well as your age demographic and the environment that you're being surrounded. You're trying to understand like the mechanisms like behind it so that you could better perceive or like better interact with the world. Let's say in a way that you would like to, and it
yes,
comes.
and also the what motivates me to talk about this is I also want to bring some awareness to it. It's not for the sake of talking about my personal life, but
Yeah.
I think spreading information
Mm.
and sharing experiences can help others figure out things they took for granted,
Yeah.
or maybe better understand something else.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, I was saying something. Ah, yeah, yes. I'm sorry, I just go back and
Mm-hmm,
forth.
mm-hmm. It's okay.
I'm really bad at this. Yeah,
There is no right
then
way of
I entered
communicating, I think.
my,
Uh-huh.
mm, well, I entered my early 20s and I realized that a lot of people are actually dating. It's not something that happens to some people and other, or I mean, seems like a lot of people are actually lucky. A lot of people are dating. What the and I would start to feel bad because it really felt like you have to
Mm.
date to be happy.
Right.
And what last year, like really recently, last year, I was really, yes, I had this feeling that I was missing out, and I really wanted to meet more people and eventually meet someone and fall in love and see how it is like. Um, I haven't, but I did meet someone
Mm-hmm.
this summer uh, to who we shared some things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and by discussing
Mm-hmm.
and because I think it's important at the beginning once you meet someone. Oh, I'm giving relationship advice. Can you believe that? No. When you meet someone, I think you should really bring up right away what you're looking for, what you're not looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this came up in the discussion really early.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would talk about my experience, that I remember telling that person, you know, I'm not really looking for something in particular, but if it happens,
Mm-hmm.
why not? And the thing is, we did share about our experiences,
Right.
like did you date people before
Mm-hmm.
and such.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that by telling my experience, I listen, we all have different experiences,
Yeah.
but I realized that clearly there is a pattern that a lot of people follow, and I didn't follow this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like he was really surprised to learn that I never dated anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember his first reaction was like, um, wait, no one liked you?
Mm.
And I and I said, no, I had no crushes on
Mm.
anyone. I mean, oh no, maybe I had no, I had crush on this person,
Mm-hmm.
I think, but you know, I mean, I clearly realized that I didn't follow some patterns,
Right.
and I also realized that um, indeed there is a difference between romantic attraction and physical attraction.
Uh-huh.
And now I am really confused because
Okay.
listen, I will ask you, I will ask everyone,
Yeah.
to you, what's the difference between a relationship, dating someone,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend? I don't understand it. For you, what's the difference? I would love to hear
Yeah.
your
I think the difference
opinion.
between friendship and relationship, there are clear like differences because relationship I relate with uh a lot of sacrifices, and also it depends on like how you view romantic relationships. But for me, I like to think in having a long-term strategy because I feel like at least the problem I feel like I experienced with um like the culture change as well as the introduction of birth contraceptives is, you know, the strategy for men is really short term, you know, because men could be popping up babies until they're, you know, 80, 90. Whereas women, they have a framework, they have a timeline. I mean, they're tied by time, by no later than 35 to 40. And so thus, like, women usually have a longer framework, whereas I feel like for men, at least like I recognize this in myself, it sometimes alters between short term and long term. But I think friendships and the difference between friendships and like, I guess like romantic relationship is, you know, like both you could view as long term, right? It depends, but I'm going to be talking in perspective of the long term, and I described like the hopefully like the rationale why. Because when I walk into a relationship, um, whether it be friends or romantic, it it requires a lot of time to really understand who the person is, the values, and you can't really fake something of like who you are given enough time. And time really does tell a lot. And I count my friendship as someone who is willing to be there through the ups and downs. Um, Truly someone who does care. And I guess it also does require some sacrifices, not only celebrating the joys, but also being there for the lows, so that they could also celebrate the highs together. Um, Similar interest, but I guess like the differentiation between that and more romantic is romantic, like relationship. You're doing things that are more intimate. Let's say you're spending time. You could be doing the same activities, but instead you guys share a common thing, um, same interest, and possibly even thinking about having a baby together. I think that's how I view it. Maybe it's like a traditional or like a traditional way of looking at it, but um Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be doing things at such an intimate level within a friendship. You know what I mean? I feel like, I mean, I guess I'm also kind of learning as well as I age. So I mean, I feel like I'm a very a traditional person. Maybe this will change. This will change over time as you know the roles are changing, etc., etc. But I would state that the main difference is the reasons why you do certain actions. Like you wouldn't do the same exact, like although you might partake in certain activities together between a friend and romantic, the level of intimacy might differ a little. There's these
And
that
this
doesn't
is
make sense.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
this is, I mean, what you're saying is exactly what I personally don't understand because
Mm.
I can totally see myself eventually building a family with someone,
With a
but
friend.
not having feelings, not having romantic feelings with that person. And I can see myself, the thing is, I can see myself in a relationship,
Uh-huh.
but not like as a friend, but not really. Like we do things that i- people consider maybe too far for a friendship, but uh, see this. No, because listen, I also believe in a very traditional view of marriage. Uh, you marry for money, power, and land.
Okay.
Okay, for for benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you may want to raise a family because you have this instinct
Mm-hmm.
of keeping the species alive.
Mm-hmm.
But love, what that thing people call love,
Mm-hmm.
that really that separates relationship from friendship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. Uh, I would love to indeed find some sort of partnership,
Yeah.
like a friendship, but it's not something most people would consider a friendship because clearly, I don't know, friends don't go around. I mean, I guess so now, living together, like really,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly getting um, intimate. Uh, uh, Friends plus plus, but not romantic feelings. The butterflies in your stomach and heartbreak,
Oh.
and I I I don't understand. Sometimes I would listen to songs about heartbreak and think, chill,
Oh.
calm down, it's fine. Why are you why are you in such a state?
Yeah.
Um, but I can still appreciate
Yeah. Yeah.
contents with love, like you can appreciate contents about dystopia without wanting to live in one. Like I just don't relate to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
Uh,
fascinating, though. Like, I would.
yeah, so I'm really confused. I'm not the best person to bring the topic of uh, romantic love because this concept is
Yeah. Yeah.
it's alien to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. 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 But I think it's so important to share this perspective because I think it gives like a way. Like maybe I am a romantic. Like
Mhm.
like I don't know. I didn't even know about the word aromantic before I before hearing it from you, but it like opens up another concept because we're there's at times there's things that you learn and there's always new things that are being added and such on, and maybe like it's important to also explore different things, but I also for me like there's boundaries. Oh, did I? Oh no, no. There's it's important for me to I think like be open about where that these things also exist and also to share this. Yeah, so I think it's wonderful that you're sharing this perspective, because I guess like I
Yeah.
was still raised still with like a in a traditional sense. So like I kind of ingrained this this value, and also because I like it, I enjoy, um I value the things within like a romantic as well as also friendship. But I guess like, you know, at times maybe, mm, like it's completely okay to not feel it as well. Like, and I don't think you have to
Yes, I think
conform.
that.
Yeah, I don't think you have to conform just because majority of the people are doing it. I don't think that's issue. But you
I
know, just
don't think I'm missing out as well. I
yeah,
used to believe so. So I really, really last year I really wanted to find someone because I feel like now I have to.
yeah,
Everyone's doing it, and apparently this is one key to happiness.
yeah,
People talk about how it makes you so happy to be loved and to
yep,
love. I want to experience
yep,
this as well. Why can't I?
yeah,
I want this for me too.
yeah,
But I realized that do I really?
yeah. And also, if
Do
you're
I
seeking
really?
for,
And
I feel like also if you're seeking for a relationship, if you're like, this is something I also realized, if you're seeking for friends or seeking for something, then it could be a little dangerous, because then it's coming from a selfish point of view. You know what I mean? I think love, another element of the whole thing is, the word selfless is also comes within love, because you're not only participating in and feeling these emotions, but you also are giving care to the. It requires some emotional intelligence on appreciating empathy for the other person as well. So yeah, I realize I've at least, in creating like friendships, that it's that you don't have to seek if you're lonely, like if you are, that you don't have to feel like you have to fit in, you know, and that there is a tendency of humans always wanting to fit in, but at times it's really okay if you come into acceptance that, you know, maybe you're just different, then it's okay, but as long as you're happy with that choice that you make. If not, then try it out, see how it makes you feel of, you know, talking with different people, having some friends. It's all a process that you have to find out for yourself, instead of just adopting something because that's how it has been for, you know, X amount of years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, I also want to talk a little about the, maybe the interaction aspect of, as we kind of move on from a physical to like a digital space. How do you think like the interaction of people are changing from the real world as well as online?
Um, I think people feel braver online as if they feel like they can do things they would usually not do in real life. Positive things such as being yourself, maybe sharing your not so common interests, or just being, mean, like insulting people online and be very disrespectful. Uh,
Yeah.
like it hasn't happened much to me, but when someone I don't know on the internet would insult me, this would make me laugh because I know that if this was real, you would never say this to me in
Right.
front of my face. You wouldn't have the courage to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the anonymous
Mm-hmm.
aspect of the internet really give people wings. I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, yeah, there is some beauty to that, that you get to see that person's, like, I guess the aspect that you wouldn't see in real life. You know, that kind of flourishes within, different, media or different platforms of where they could, they don't have to worry about, their personal safety, being potentially harmed. Mm.
Mhm.
Do you think this all affects us, like, how do you think this affects us as to society, and to what extent do you think?
Well, I think people can easily forget that even if you are interacting on the internet, the laws still apply.
Mm,
So, um, b- b- like saying racist stuff, and behaving in really harmful manners in real life have consequences. Uh, it's punished by the law. And if you do it on the internet, it's still punished by the law, and people tend to forget that, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah, to not differentiate.
Easily.
Yeah, to not into. So the important thing is to always be reminded to just be a good like just be good, you know, like instead of just I mean it sounds so
Don't be a
obvious.
racist.
You don't be like just have some common sense, I guess, because sometimes we could really get our irrational self like getting emotional get the best of us, I think. And yeah, that also takes some responsibility of how to interact online. And I think it's important that we like have conversations of how to utilize it, and because at times if not, if it's unregulated, it could really cause harm because of the also the scalability of how much people could, you know, have access to it.
Yeah, awareness and education
Yeah.
at a young age, especially because now we're more aware of the possible dangers and misuse of the internet compared to before.
Yeah.
Because when I was, I don't know, when I was 10 years old, it was, let's see, I can do math. 2007,
Uh.
it was still the beginning of the internet, for instance.
Mhm.
We didn't have social media back then, not in 2007. I don't think so. It
Mhm.
started maybe in the early 2010, I think. So
Yeah.
when we, I mean, my generation, we grew up with this and we figured out or not, we witnessed
The change.
behaviors
Right.
misused.
Right.
We went through it
Yeah.
first, and now we know. So I think we can um,
Past.
educate
Yeah.
younger people about what it implies to be on the internet. When you say do post something on the internet, it stays on the internet
Mm.
forever.
Mhm.
Um, um, laws in your country still apply on the internet. Um, so don't feel like
Invincible.
this is so weird. Like really, some people will feel like, oh, I'm anonymous, so I can say whatever they want, and their first reflex is to be a forget forgive me for the word, but to be an asshole.
Mhm.
And this is like this reveals a lot about your personality, I think. If this is really the oh, I'm anonymous, no one knows who I am, then I'm going to say something
Mm.
racist. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, weird, but okay. But now, yes, we are definitely more aware of the implication, the consequences. We can educate younger people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I'm reflecting that I also need to be educated on how I utilize it as well. Uh, but there are some consequences that comes with you know using, such as the impact of mental health. We could talk a little bit about you know both males and females of you know the that anyone could be an influencer these days, as well as what is being portrayed, what is deemed good by models, fitness models, or these desires that gets kind of like propagated because it kind of holds like a symbol of this is what most people pay attention to, and this is also something that you might do, and that you know has an impact on the like we see within. I don't know the exact numbers, but it has tremendous impacts on depression as well as just negative like mental health problems. So how do you think we could how do you think we could prevent and also be aware of mental health, because it still seems like it's there's a stigma attached to mental illness because maybe in the past it wasn't really, you know, there was no such uh thing as like mental illness wasn't as prevalent as it is today.
oh, if I knew the answer, I would tell everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell the president. I would change the system so it can accommodate to people struggling with mental illnesses. I don't have the answer for this question. maybe, like I said, putting a word on concepts
Mm-hmm.
um, help with realizing that they exist, right? It reminds me of 1984 by George Orwell.
Mm.
Newspeak. You create concepts to criminalize some behavior, but at the same time, you remove a lot of words from the dictionary so that people no longer have knowledge of other concepts that doesn't serve the system of the book,
Mm.
Big Brother. And so, yeah, spreading, I mean, making it more invaluable, realizing that there are uh, mental illnesses, they exist, such as depression or eating disorders. Um, and I mean, the stigma around it will, I don't think we can erase the stigma around it soon. Clearly, this is something that's going to stay for a long time.
But I think
I
at
think I
mm-hmm.
probably emphasizing the fact that this is so as important as physical health. Um, like
Mm-hmm.
you have a broken arm, you
Mm-hmm.
go to the hospital to get the
Right.
arm thing so
Right.
the bone can
The cast.
come back
Yep.
to normal. But and mental health, just because you can't see it
Doesn't mean it
doesn't
doesn't
mean that
exist.
it's lower or
Mm-hmm.
it's not as important as your physical health.
Mm-hmm.
I would say um,
Being informed.
spreading this knowledge at first would be a great start so
Yeah.
that people will eventually by themselves seek help and to get better.
Mm. I think so. Seems like a lot of problems could be better alleviated with the spread of information. I think even there was a book by Yuval Noah Harari, something talking about like the 21st century, and he talks about this like there's a religion within like the computer scientists called dataism, which is like the spread of information usually leads to an increase in welfare. And I found that very fascinating because even in issues of corruption, in issues with climate change, and so many different like poverty, so many different challenges that we face in a world global scale as well as small scale, information really does help uh, be more aware and gives you the tools of how to like how to better navigate given the problems to help solve it. And I think, yeah, as you stated, the first steps would be of lessening maybe the stigma around it is to spreading information, being aware that these problems do exist, and just maybe educating the population seems to be like the best steps.
And how do we do it?
I
That's
think,
the question
yeah,
also.
like within implementing it within maybe the education system, maybe it's required that you learn um, about the brain and like a course on like the impacts. I mean, of course, it's gonna have its costs, but as a society, that it, we have to wonder whether this is something we're willing to fund because it could have devastating, like it could have everlasting impact throughout the lifetime. So, I mean, I'm in no position like, or do I know much about the policy as well as the cost as well as the benefit. But I feel like the cost to benefit analysis of this is something very worthy. But I don't know. I really don't know of how like whether there, I don't think there is like a one size fit all solution of any big scale problems like these. I also wonder,
Mhm.
how do you think like our ancestors and our grandparents dealt with mental health? Because I don't know if there was as much. Yeah, there wasn't not as much access compared to now.
Clearly,
They just hold that stuff
yeah,
in.
clearly. I think I wouldn't say they just dealt with it because that would be counterproductive. That's
Right.
not how it works. But I feel like all our parents, grandparents, and ancestors, I really believe that they had lots of trauma.
Mm,
Like you just talk about things that happened to them that really specific thing that happened to them, and you know that this fucked them up.
Mm.
Like I remember my father,
Mm-hmm.
my dad, he would be beaten up as a child
Mm-hmm.
for just taking a fruit
Mm-hmm.
from the fruit basket and not asking first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the from his own parent. And I think this is the. I mean, this is child abuse, isn't it? This is the kind of things that really mess people up, and sometimes, and they just keep it shut.
Mm.
They I mean, they will eventually talk about it. Like I said, they will eventually, like even years later, they will bring this up, and exactly it shows how much it
Yeah.
impacted them. Uh, but they pass on the trauma
Yeah.
one generation
Yeah.
to generation, and maybe our generation is the one that is more fed up with it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess I think like that the passing of it, I think we're more aware of it, at least like from like my understanding of like my family. There definitely were some mental health problems, but I think education, being informed about it, has definitely helped a lot of being more open and being better aware. And hopefully we're leading into a civilization where it is more open and informed. Last thing I want to ask about is what do you think about art within the value of art within our society?
Okay. I think art, people make art for very different reasons, really. They like the um, aesthetic look of the final result they want to achieve. They want to express something, or they want to mimic what they see and put it on the media, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They art has many purpose. I think at the end of the day, it always comes back to expressing something,
Mm.
whatever it is. If you're just painting like a forest, it's because you think this is beautiful, so you want to show other people. There's this also notion of sharing.
Mm.
You want to show other people, oh, I saw this landscape and I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I wanted to paint it, or even painting fruits in basket. Maybe you like the contrast, the colors. You really you think that the mimicking 3D aspect on a canvas is interesting and is something worth studying for. It's always about sharing something and expressing yourself. And for people like me who are really, really bad with words and explaining how we feel, right? Like love, sometimes words are really not enough,
Mm.
or words are too limited, or we cannot find the right words, or we just everything like we understand what's going on, but
Yeah.
externalizing it, it's difficult. Like we know, but in our brain, it's
There's a
I
storm
feel
going on
like
in there.
art is just you, even if it's not as clear as word, but at the same time, for the person making the art,
Mm-hmm.
this is better than expressing yourself with words.
So,
Uh,
would you state that it's another medium of communicating and just expressing in general, expressing emotions,
necessarily emotions, maybe sometimes just opinion, like, oh, I
opinions?
think this is pretty,
Mm.
you know. Yes, I think even if it's ornamental, like you're just drawing geometrical shape,
Yeah.
and it really has no deep meaning. Some art doesn't always have deep meaning, and
Mm-hmm.
it's fine.
Yeah.
But I strongly believe that it's always in some sort about sharing something and communicating.
Mm.
whatever it is.
I think that's wonderful that there is something, a medium where humans are able to allow themselves to extrapolate themselves, not just through mediums of communication through oral, but also in a written or geometrical, whatever shape that you could just put with the countless of tools that we could use by manipulating the use of our hands. It's super cool.
Yes, and I think when you look at history,
Yeah. Uh huh.
we started drawing way before making alphabets,
Mm. Wait,
right?
didn't cavemen start
So
drawing? I'm pretty sure that's like the first recorded history. Or even hieroglyphics, I'm pretty sure that's the first language ever. And that's in terms of drawings as well, isn't it?
no, not no, I don't know how it's called
Mm-hmm.
in English. There is that one language from the Babylon
The
region.
Babylon
I think before the ooh, what's
hieroglyphics?
going on with my computer? No, it's fine. The the yeah, I don't know what's called in English. I don't want to make words up.
But there was a
Yes,
language, there was some other language.
hieroglyphs
Uh huh.
were one of the were one of the first. Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, because people I mean, language is spoken at first.
Mm-hmm.
You, for a long time, it used to be like that. People would talk, and then, like, way later in the history of humanity, people thought that, oh, maybe we could put what we were saying onto a support,
Mm-hmm.
and but it arrived way later. And
Mm-hmm.
when you read philosophers like Plato,
Mm-hmm.
he said something like writing. Okay, it's been a few years. The quote won't be correct, but something like writing
Mm-hmm.
the concept is killing it, or something like that. Like even when we created writing, um, humans seem to had this sort of aversion of dislike to it, as if
Mm-hmm.
spoken languages
Mm-hmm.
was better or more powerful
Mm-hmm.
than writing it.
Okay.
But for art,
Uh huh.
I think it's fascinating how we really started drawing
Yeah.
way before.
Yeah.
Maybe even, and I wonder. I have no idea. Maybe you know, but do you know if Homo sapiens could had a language um, when they started drawing?
No, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
but I would assume like just I feel like I know more about monkeys and chimps more than you Homo sapiens, but it's
That's fine.
I know that monkeys and it's either monkeys or chimps that they have three battle cries, and they have a cry for when there's a snake, you know, in the bush. There's one for wild cats climbing up the tree, and there's one for flying animals. And I would assume just based upon those
Yeah.
three cries that Homo sapiens, our ancestors, probably had some sort of cry like that, and then maybe it became it became intelligible enough, or the as communities got more and more complex. This is just a theory. This isn't like backed or anything.
Yeah,
Is
but
that like as
yeah.
it gets more and more complicated, our brains kind of grow, our tools get sharpened, so that we're able to eat more nutritious like meat, which also helps furthering the growth of our brains and become complex. And thus we have like more structured like language structure that we now experience today. I don't know, possible theory.
I understand what you mean, but I mean, uh, I don't know about English. I'm trying to think
Mm-hmm.
if English really distinguish language as set signals, like a bee calling other bees and say, "Oh, look, there's honey where
Uh-huh.
I am. Come in."
Uh-huh.
And us humans, as our language, we don't have set. I mean, not anymore. I think we don't have set languages. We
Uh-huh.
can make things up like, oh, the sky is purple and it's flying pigs. You
Uh-huh.
know, it serves no purpose. And I was thinking of that, like when did the Homo sapiens start? But maybe it's evolved from having set signals
Mm,
to really a more complex. Because in French we make the difference between um, langue and langage,
mm-hmm.
uh, and it's not the same thing. But I can't think if English has a distinction like that. Like I can't recall.
Mm.
Because you just say language, you say the language of the bees and the language of human. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, communication maybe, because I know that bees communicate with. I don't know if this is the differentiation you're talking about, like the how bees communicate is different from how humans communicate. Is that the differentiation you're trying to make? Because bees, I know they have a really cool pattern of like they dance, they jiggle their butts, and they do a certain circle dance, and then they're like, hey, there's some food over here, and then all the pack of the crew, they're, and then they do stuff, make honey, delicious, absolutely crazy to still think about what these animals could do. But yeah, okay, one last question. If you could give some advice to, let's say, a 5 year old Maiva, what would you tell to 5 year old Maiva?
Oh wow. 5 year old. So ooh, right after 9/11.
Oh,
um
great recall of the
uh,
date. Mm-hmm.
um well I try to recall how I was at 5 years old because I was pretty much clueless. I
Explore
had
the
no
idea of
expectations or
aromanticism.
anything like that.
Uh huh.
What would I tell little me?
Ex-
Um, you're going to struggle a lot, really. Uh, but you know what? You're really cool. Don't let other people tell you that you're not cool. You're really cool.
mm,
You are yeah. Like you may be bullied and people will call you weird, but it doesn't really care. And also, um, the popular kids in high school, it means nothing. Like once high school is over, really, I no 5 years old me. Don't think too much. It's okay. Just live. Just live.
just live.
What about you? What would you say, 5 years old Jim?
Um, I would definitely enforce the importance of self control, discipline, being open mind, radically open minded. Speak the truth, and if not, don't speak at all. There are certain framework, like there's rules that I would tell him, but I would also tell him
Say,
to.
your parents do this, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm like I'd be a parent, but yeah, just being, if two things I could carry across, being radically open minded and attempting to speak the truth.
Mhm.
Yeah, those two things.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's good advice.
I think there's no better way than ending off there. Serve, thank you so much for joining me,
Mhm.
and I hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.